Hello everyone, welcome! Today I'm going to be pulling out my Glimmer hot foil system and creating 2 Christmas cards using some new products from Spellbinders. Let me show you these first. These are just stunning. I love poinsettias. In my stash, I think I cannot have too many poinsettia stamps and dies and now hot foil plates. This one is called Holiday Florals Background Glimmer. This is an A2 sized panel I'm showing you, and it just fits perfectly on this standard sized card. There's a lot you can do with this plate, and it also comes with 3 sentiment hot foil plates. One says Merry Christmas, one says From Our House to Yours, and also Wishing You a. This second set is called Holiday Florals Glimmer. And it's the single poinsettia, and it also comes with a die to cut it out. I accidentally glimmered it there with some pink foil. It looks really pretty glimmered, and it doesn't hurt it at all. And then you have a few accessory pieces to go with it, as well as the die to cut those out. The third thing I want to show you is some paper I've had in my stash for a while. It's called Glimmer Specialty Clear Film Sheets. This stuff is amazing. I don't know why I didn't pull it out sooner, but we're going to create a card using this. It looks like a clear piece of acetate, but let me tell you, it is a lot different from acetate in that it does not warp at all when I glimmer it. I'll show you that in just a minute. I pulled out some pink foil to glimmer this onto this piece of specialty paper, and we're going to glimmer all the way around it. So I'm going to attach it face down to this piece of specialty paper, and then I'm going to tape it in place. I'm going to line it up to the edge of the paper. I'll take off the backing, and then I just want a little bit of tape to be actually touching the specialty paper so that it doesn't leave any residue. So I'm putting most of the tape on the foil plate, and then I'll tuck it around the other side. I'm going to hinge it in 2 places. This just makes it easier to lift up and put the foiling in between these 2. I found it easiest for me to do it this way, so I'm just going to slide the foil in between, sandwich it in between, pretty side touching the pretty side of the plate. And then the paper behind it gives it some stability, so I can just bring in my scissors and cut around this plate. I'm trying to cut off as much as I can so that I don't overfoil. And then I'll even come back and cut the edges down a little bit. I have my glimmer machine warming up. Once that turns green, I can start foiling this clear film sheet. So I'm going to put it down with the plate closest to the machine. And you can see there the green light is on, so it means it's hot enough to get started. And then I add the 2 shims, as well as a piece of heavyweight cardstock in between those 2 shims. I press the button, and once it stops flashing, I can pull that out and run it through my Spellbinders die cutting machine. I try to run it through the machine very slowly. And now for the big reveal, I can use my magnet tool and put it on the silicone cooling mat. I'm just going to use a tissue to handle this, to pull the glimmer plate off of the paper. And then look at how stunning this has turned out. It just makes a Christmas card that much more special, I think. It's so beautiful. I did get a little bit of overfoiling, but I'm going to glimmer right over that, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to tape this down to the opposite side and do the same thing. I'll add a little bit more of the pink foil. The edges of the foiling are going to overlap just a little bit where they meet. But if you don't want them to overlap, you can just hang the foil plate off the edge just a little bit, and then they won't be touching at all. I'm going to sandwich the foil in between the clear film and the foil plate again. and then just cut it down to size. I keep all of the extra bits that I'm cutting off here to foil out some more poinsettias here in just a minute. Spellbinders does have a really nice foil trimmer that cuts your foil down to size very easily. But in this instance, I thought this was the best way to go. So let's put this back on our Glimmer hot foil machine and put the plates over it and press the timer button. And again, once that stops flashing, I'll just take the whole system out and run it through my Spellbinders die cut machine. And here it is, ready for the reveal again. This time I'm just going to pick it up with my fingers and put it on the cooling mat. Let's peel off the plate, and I'll show you what this looks like when it's foiled on all 4 edges. Isn't that just pretty? I love the pink foil on this, but it looks stunning with red or gold or whatever color you'd like. So now it's time to foil a few single poinsettias, and I'm going to pull out some pink paper as well as the pink foil again. I'm going to be doing a lot of hot foiling off camera, but I just wanted to show you at least one foiling so you can see how I did this. But I've really fallen in love with this hot foil system. It just makes a stunning impact on Christmas cards or whatever kinds of cards that you're creating. And it's so easy to do. I was so intimidated by it at first. But once you get the hang of it, it is so much fun and really easy to do. Okay, so let's run this through the Spellbinders die cut machine again, and I'll show you what it looks like on this pink cardstock. This is called Pink Sand I'm using. It's one of Spellbinders' Cardstock Essentials. I like to tape it on both sides just so it doesn't shift as I'm foiling it and then running it through the machine. I love that this comes with a die that will cut it out. You can see there's a lot of extra foiling around the edges, but that can easily be erased off. But before I erase it off, I am going to die cut it because this die will cut most of the overfoiling off. Let's tape this in place. And then what little bit is left on the flower, I'm just going to pull my white eraser. You can use a sand eraser as well, but I find that this white plastic eraser works just as good. And just erase off the overfoiling. Isn't that just beautiful? Next, I'm going to foil out the sentiment on the same panel, the Merry Christmas sentiment. And you can see that it didn't even warp at all. I was so amazed by this. I thought there'd be at least a little bit of warpage, but it just is the nicest paper. I keep calling it paper, but it's not a paper, it's a clear film. So I'm going to tape this down tight, exactly where I want it so it doesn't shift. So I'll put 2 pieces of tape on this. I end up foiling this twice just because the end of Christmas, the AS, didn't foil out very dark. So I was able to foil right over it again to make it just a little bit darker. So here it is all ready to go onto the card. I want to add a little variation of pink on this piece of a pink cardstock. So I'm going to bring in my Kitsch Flamingo and Festive Berries and put it on just a few of the edges. This looks really beautiful behind the clear film. I'm not going to bring the ink all the way to the center, it's just the edges that I'm going for here. And then the darkest of the colors, the Festive Berries, just on the very edge. And I'll blend those two together to get a smooth transition. But let me put the clear film on here and show you. Isn't that just beautiful? So I'm going to speed this up a little bit, and I keep putting the top panel on just to make sure I'm putting the oxide ink where I want it to be. And that's all the ink I'm going to put on. I'll clear up my work mat. I'm going to add one of the pink foiled poinsettias on top of it, as well as another sentiment that says, "From our house to yours." The sentiment I adhered down flat with a little bit of dot liner, and I put some foam adhesive behind the poinsettia. Going to put a few little sprigs behind it. And I'll just use more of the dot liner to do this. As you can see in my little heart tray, I foiled up a bunch of poinsettias in different colors of cardstock and different colors of foil, and I'll be using that on my second card. Now let's attach this, the clear film, onto the pink panel. Let me just untape it. And then for this, I'm just going to use a little bit of liquid glue, and I'm going to be placing it right behind all of the poinsettias and the sentiment strip. And I'm not taking it too close to the edges because I don't want it to smear out from behind my poinsettias. It's going to take a while for this to dry behind the clear film. I'm going to pull out an acrylic block and just set on top of it just while it dries so it holds it down tight. I'm going to set that aside for a few minutes. Let's add even more bling to this card. I'm using some of the silver gems from Spellbinders. This is going to be a very festive, shiny card. I love how this one turns out. And then I'm going to pull in a white card base. And I'll attach this with more liquid adhesive. As I'm looking at this card now, I think it would be really pretty to add a little more of the Distress Oxide ink over the white poinsettia, just so it isn't so stark, and even over the leaves. I think that would be a nice touch. So I would definitely give this Glimmer Specialty Clear Film a big thumbs up. I highly recommend this stuff. Here's a close-up look at the finished card. I love all of the shine on that. On card number 2, we're going to use up all of the poinsettias that I glimmered and cut out with the coordinating dies. I'm putting a piece of pomegranate cardstock on a white card base, leaving a little bit of a border, and then even another panel of the pink sand cardstock. One's going to have a lot of matting on it. And then I'm going to arrange a little arrangement of poinsettias in the middle of this card. So I left all of my fussing around with the poinsettias in, but I definitely had to speed this up. Some of these pieces I'm going to glue down flat, and some I'm going to pop up with some foam pieces. I'm just trying to find a nice, balanced arrangement. This is the hardest part, in my opinion, trying to put these down on the card so it looks really nice and pretty. And then I'm going to put the leaves down, but they're not going to be with the coordinating poinsettia. I just like that little difference of color. And then the sentiment I popped up with some foam strips. So this has quite a bit of dimension to it. All of the leaves I'm gluing down flat. Now let's put the sentiment right on top. The sentiment kind of blends in with the white poinsettia, but I like the look of that. I thought it looked really pretty. I'm going to add a few red gems around this arrangement. These are also from Spellbinders, and they're perfect for your Christmas cards. Just going to put 3 of these down. And that's all there is to this card. I did use some of the leftover pieces on the inside, but that shine just makes me happy to look at it. I'll have all of the product links listed in my description box below if you're interested in checking those out. Thanks so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you all have a wonderful crafty day. Bye.